Now a man who says that Edward Snowden has done, and I quote, a great service to the American people by exposing the truth about what our government's doing in secret. Ron Paul is a former congressman and former presidential candidate. He's now chairman of the Campaign for Liberty. Ron Paul, thank you for joining me. You are a supporter of Edward Snowden and his actions. Why?
Well, from what I hear and what he's done, I mean, he's done a great service because he's telling the truth, and this is what we are starved for. The American people are starved for the truth. And when you have a dictatorship or an authoritarian government, truth becomes treasonous. And this is what they do. If you are a whistleblower, or if you're trying to tell the American people that our country is destroying our rule of law and destroying our Constitution, they turn it on and they say, oh, you're committing treason. So this is a big problem. And to expect any changes without an announcement like this, things keep getting worse. They've gotten worse steadily for the past 10 years. So essentially there is no Fourth Amendment anymore. And for somebody to tell the American people the truth is a heroic effort. And he knows that it's very risky. He knows he's committing, civil disobedience, and he knows that he could get punished. But he believes very sincerely, I'm sure, I've never met the man, but he believes very seriously that what our government is doing to us is so serious that somebody has to speak out. And I think the large majority of American people are sick and tired of hearing how many people are having surveillance on them, whether it's their phones, their internet, and email, and everything else. Matter of fact, I think the president ought to send them a thank you letter, because the president ran on transparency, and we're getting a lot of transparency now. So finally, we're getting the president to fulfill his promise about transparency. So that's pretty exciting for me, because I believe in transparency. But we have our government turned on its head. The government is supposed to be open, and we're supposed to have our privacy. But we don't have any privacy, and the government's totally secret. And then they combine this with what they do with the IRS. Maybe that's how they line up their targets in the IRS. They check on our phone calls and find out what kind of business deals we're doing, so we can audit them and do all these kind of things. It's just totally out of control.
It may be, but the reality is that a new Pew Research Center tracking of millions of Americans coming up between June the 6th and the 9th said the following: is it acceptable for the NSA to track calls of millions of Americans to investigate terrorism? Acceptable, 56%, not acceptable, 41%. So the significant majority of Americans appear to be in favor of this. Going back to you, Ambassador Woolsey, if I may, I just want to read out the Fourth Amendment of the US Constitution to remind people: the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, I just don't see how you can say that what is going on here in complete secrecy from 99% of the people it's being done to lives up to the Fourth Amendment of the US Constitution. It is palpably a breach, isn't it?
Well, it depends on whether or not you want to preserve the country's ability to operate in a world of terrorism in which a lot of terrorists are very technically sophisticated. If you want to defend the country, you're going to have to defend it.
Right, but I understand that, and there's been a lot of sympathy for that from many Americans, but that wasn't the question. The question is whether...
It is the question.
Well, it's not.
It is the question.
No,
the balance between security...